All right, so you know that feeling, right? Like it's 3 in the afternoon and you've had lunch.
Yeah.
You've had that initial maybe like little burst of energy and then bam,
Yeah.
you hit a wall.
A wall.
It's like this wave of tiredness just washes over you.
It's a real.
You're struggling to focus, maybe even fighting to keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, is it 5 o'clock yet?
Right?
It's the notorious 3 p.m. slump.
The 3 p.m. slump.
And it's something I think pretty much everyone can relate to.
Almost everyone, yeah. It's an experience I think we all share.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really fascinating to me is that it's not just in your head. Like,
Right.
There's a real biochemical basis for that sudden drop in energy.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's actually what we are diving into today.
That's right.
We have sifted through a ton of articles and research trying to really figure out why this happens.
Yeah.
And our mission today is really simple.
Okay.
We want to understand the science behind this afternoon energy crash so you can actually do something about it.
That's right. And maintain consistent energy levels throughout your day.
I like it.
We want to help you ditch that afternoon struggle for good.
That's right. We want to give people a really clear understanding of what's happening under the surface.
Yeah.
And also give them some practical evidence-based strategies they can use.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And there's honestly, some surprising things going on in your body that contribute to this slump.
Yeah.
That you might not even suspect.
Right.
So you mentioned it's not just mental.
Mm-hmm.
What is the core, biochemical process that is driving this afternoon energy crash?
Well, a central piece of the puzzle is what we often call the blood sugar roller coaster.
Okay.
Think about it this way.
Yeah.
When you eat particularly a meal that's high in refined carbohydrates or sugars, your blood glucose levels surge pretty quickly.
Okay, so we're talking about things like white bread, pasta, sugary drinks.
Exactly. Okay.
And in response to this spike, your pancreas releases insulin to help your cells absorb that glucose from your bloodstream.
Okay.
Now, here's a key insight.
Yeah.
The bigger that initial sugar rush, the more insulin your body tends to pump out.
So it's like your body's overcorrecting. Like
Yeah.
it sends in too much insulin for the job.
In a way, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And this overzealous release of insulin can then cause your blood sugar levels to plummet,
Okay.
sometimes even dipping lower than where they started.
Wow.
And this rapid drop is what we call reactive hypoglycemia. And it's a major culprit in that feeling of fatigue.
So that initial energy burst that you might get from sugary foods or simple carbs, that's often a setup for an even bigger fall later.
That's right.
What are the telltale signs that this blood sugar crash is underway? How do you know?
Well, the obvious one is fatigue.
Yeah.
But you might also experience difficulty concentrating, that kind of foggy brain feeling.
Yeah.
Irritability is another common symptom.
Oh.
And ironically, you might find yourself craving even more carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Your body's desperate for a quick source of energy, even if it's just a temporary fix.
Right.
It's a vicious cycle of highs and lows.
That makes total sense because you grab that sugary snack, you get a quick lift, and then you crash even harder, and then you want more.
Exactly.
So it makes total sense.
Yeah.
But is blood sugar, is that roller coaster the only thing that's kind of pulling us down in the afternoon?
Not at all.
Okay.
Our natural circadian rhythm also plays a significant role.
Okay.
You see, we experience a natural dip in our alertness levels in the early afternoon, typically between 1 and 3 p.m.
Oh, that's right in the middle of when most of us feel that slump.
Exactly.
Bad.
And it's thought that this might be an evolutionary holdover, perhaps linked to the traditional siesta in warmer climates.
Interesting.
Yeah. And what's fascinating is how this natural dip in our alertness, coinciding with that post-meal blood sugar dip, really amplifies the feeling of fatigue.
Yeah.
It's like two separate forces converging at the same time.
So it's not just about what we eat, but also our internal clock has this natural kind of lull period as well.
That's right.
That's a really interesting connection.
Yeah.
So what else could be making us feel so drained after lunch, even if we think we've eaten something relatively healthy?
Well, that's where the energy demands of digestion come into play.
Okay.
Digesting food, especially a large or heavy meal, requires a considerable amount of energy.
Yeah.
After you eat them, your body prioritizes blood flow to your digestive system
Okay.
to process everything.
So the body's essentially diverting resources to the gut.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this redirection of blood flow means there's a temporary reduction in blood flow to other areas, including your brain.
Okay.
And when your brain isn't getting its usual supply of fuel and oxygen, it can lead to those feelings of mental fatigue and sleepiness.
Oh, wow.
Your body's essentially saying, okay, we've got a big job to do here, so other systems might need to take a temporary back seat.
Okay, so we've got the blood sugar roller coaster.
Yeah.
We've got the natural afternoon dip.
And then we also have just the demands of digestion itself.
That's right.
All contributing to this 3 p.m. slump.
All coming together.
So that paints a pretty clear picture of why it happens.
Yeah.
Now let's zoom in on how our specific lunch choices can either fuel or foil our afternoon energy.
Okay.
I've heard about the glycemic index.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is that telling us?
The glycemic index, or GI, is essentially a ranking system for carbohydrate-containing foods.
Okay.
It tells you how quickly each food raises your blood glucose levels compared to a reference food like pure glucose or white bread.
Okay.
Foods with a high GI are digested and absorbed rapidly, leading to those quick spikes we were just talking about.
And those are the main culprits that set us up for that energy crash.
Exactly.
Okay.
High GI foods like white bread, white pasta, sugary drinks, and many processed snacks are prime examples.
Yeah.
They trigger that rapid surge in blood sugar, which, as we know, is very often followed by a significant crash.
Okay.
Think about that typical office lunch, a sandwich on white bread. Scar.
Maybe some potato chips and a cookie to finish.
Yeah.
It's almost perfectly engineered to lead to a 3 p.m. slump.
It really is. It's not just about, high sugar content overall, but the speed at which those sugars hit our bloodstream.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's not solely about the high GI foods themselves. It's also about the overall makeup of many typical lunches.
Okay.
They often tend to be very carbohydrate heavy and lacking in sufficient protein and healthy fats and fiber.
And why are those things, the protein, the fats, the fiber, why are those so crucial for sustained energy?
Well, protein, healthy fats, and fiber all play a vital role in slowing down the digestion and absorption of carbohydrates.
Okay.
This leads to a much more gradual and stable rise in blood sugar, helping you avoid those dramatic peaks and valleys. When carbohydrates dominate a meal, the insulin response is much stronger, making that subsequent crash far more likely.
So it's not just about cutting out the less helpful foods, but actively including those that support stable energy.
Absolutely. And it's not just about individual foods in isolation, it's also about how you combine them in a meal.
Okay.
Eating a carbohydrate-rich food on its own will have a different impact on your blood sugar compared to eating it alongside a source of protein, fiber, or healthy fats.
Can you give us like a practical example of how combining foods makes a difference?
Sure. Think about eating an apple by itself.
Okay.
It contains natural sugars, and while it's a healthy snack, those sugars will be absorbed relatively quickly.
Okay.
Now, if you pair that same apple with a tablespoon of almond butter,
Okay.
the healthy fats and protein in the almond butter will significantly slow down the digestion and absorption of the apple's sugars,
Okay.
resulting in a much gentler and more sustained release of energy.
So you're essentially creating a time release effect by adding those other nutrients.
That's a great way to think about it.
Okay, so we understand why the slump happens.
Yep.
We understand how our lunch choices can exacerbate it.
Uh-huh.
Now, for the solutions,
Right.
what practical steps can we take to actually prevent this afternoon energy crash?
Well, there are several highly effective strategies you can implement, and it really starts with strategic meal planning.
Okay, let's dive into that.
Okay.
What does a strategically planned lunch look like for steady afternoon energy?
The key is to aim for balance across your macronutrients.
Okay.
You want to include lean protein sources like chicken, fish, or legumes, complex carbohydrates such as whole grains and non-starchy vegetables, healthy fats from things like avocado or nuts, and a good amount of fiber from fruits and vegetables.
So instead of that white bread sandwich, we're looking at something more like a salad with grilled chicken quinoa and some avocado.
Exactly.
Got it.
That's a much better approach.
Yeah.
Also be mindful of your portion sizes.
Okay.
Overeating puts a significant burden on your digestive system and can definitely worsen that post-meal fatigue.
Yeah, for sure.
And as we've discussed, prioritizing low glycemic index options over high GI foods is crucial.
Yeah.
Swap white rice for brown rice, choose whole grain bread over white, and load up on those colorful, non-starchy vegetables. Yeah. And finally, never underestimate the power of proper hydration.
Okay.
Dehydration can often mimic or even worsen the symptoms of low blood sugar, so make sure you're drinking enough water throughout the day.
Yeah, that all sounds very doable.
Yeah.
What about our habits outside of just what we eat for lunch? Are there lifestyle adjustments that can help?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Even small changes in your daily routine can have a surprisingly big impact.
Okay.
For example, taking a short walk after eating, even if it's just for 10 minutes, can really help regulate your blood sugar levels and boost your energy.
Yeah.
Physical activity helps your muscles use glucose for fuel, which prevents that sharp spike and the subsequent crash.
It's easy to just stay glued to your desk after lunch.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
a little movement could make a real difference.
It can.
Yeah.
Also, if your schedule allows, try to strategically schedule your most mentally demanding tasks for your periods of peak energy,
Okay.
rather than right after lunch when your body is heavily engaged in digestion. Incorporating short movement breaks throughout the day, even just standing up and stretching for a minute or two every half hour,
Okay.
can help maintain good circulation and keep your energy levels more consistent.
Yeah.
And perhaps one of the most important factors overall is prioritizing good quality sleep.
Okay.
Insufficient sleep significantly impairs your body's ability to regulate blood glucose, making you much more vulnerable to those afternoon energy dips.
So it's all interconnected.
It is.
What we eat, how we move, how well we sleep.
That's right.
Now, the research we looked at also touched on the idea of supplement support,
Yeah.
specifically mentioning something called GlucoTrust.
Mhm.
Can you tell us more about that as a potential tool?
Yes, for individuals who are looking for additional support in managing their blood sugar levels, supplements like GlucoTrust can be a consideration.
Okay.
It's formulated with a blend of natural ingredients that have been studied for their potential positive effects on glucose metabolism.
Okay, let's break down some of these key ingredients.
Right.
Biotin is listed first. What's its primary role in this context?
Biotin is a B vitamin that plays a critical role in how your body converts food into energy.
Okay.
It's involved in the metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins.
Okay, and then there's chromium.
Yeah.
We hear about that in relation to blood sugar sometimes.
Chromium is an essential trace mineral that enhances the action of insulin, which, as we've discussed, is absolutely central to regulating blood sugar levels and improving how your body handles glucose.
Manganese is also on the list.
Right.
What does that contribute?
Manganese is another essential mineral that plays part in the production and secretion of insulin.
Interesting. And then there are some more botanical ingredients like juniper berries and licorice root. What are they bringing to the table?
Juniper berries contain natural antioxidants, and some research suggests they may have a supportive role in healthy blood sugar regulation.
Okay.
Licorice root also contains compounds that have been investigated for their potential benefits in maintaining healthy blood sugar levels.
Okay, and what about cinnamon? That's often associated with helping to control blood sugar.
Yes, cinnamon has been shown in some studies to potentially mimic some of the actions of insulin and improve how your cells take up glucose from the bloodstream.
Okay, finally, Gymnema sylvestre. That sounds quite exotic.
It does.
What does that do?
Gymnema sylvestre is an herb that has a long history of use in traditional medicine.
Okay.
Some research indicates that it may help reduce the absorption of sugar in the intestines.
So it sounds like these ingredients are working through different mechanisms to help the body manage glucose more effectively.
That's the underlying idea.
Okay.
The combination of these natural ingredients is intended to work synergistically to help promote more stable blood sugar levels throughout the day,
Yeah.
which in turn can help minimize those dramatic fluctuations that lead to afternoon energy crashes.
Okay, so it really does sound like a multifaceted approach is the most effective.
I think so.
It's not about one magic bullet, but about integrating several strategies.
That's right.
So if someone's listening and they really want to tackle their 3 p.m. slump, what would be the key action steps you'd recommend they take?
First, really focus on revamping your lunch routine to include balanced, low glycemic meals that are rich in protein, fiber, and healthy fats.
Okay.
Second, make a conscious effort to stay well hydrated with water throughout the day.
Yep.
Third, incorporate strategic movement, both a short walk after meals and regular movement breaks during your workday.
Yeah.
Fourth, consider whether a supplement like GlucoTrust might be a valuable addition to support healthy glucose metabolism.
Okay.
And finally, don't underestimate the importance of optimizing your sleep and managing stress levels, as these have a profound impact on your body's ability to regulate energy.
And it really highlights how addressing those underlying causes is so much more effective in the long run
Yeah.
than just reaching for that quick sugar or caffeine fix,
Right.
which we now understand can actually worsen the cycle. By gaining a deeper understanding of what's truly happening in your body, you have the power to transform your afternoons from a period of sluggishness into a time of sustained productivity and vibrant energy.
I love it.
This has been incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
It's empowering to realize that the 3 p.m. slump isn't some unavoidable fact of life,
Right.
but something we can actively manage.
Yeah.
So as you go about your day, really consider the intricate dance between the food you eat, your body's insulin response, and your overall energy levels,
Yeah.
you truly have the ability to make informed choices about your diet, your lifestyle, and even explore potential supplement support.
Yeah.
And on that note, consider this.
Okay.
How could consistently stable energy levels throughout your entire day fundamentally reshape your productivity and your overall well-being? What new doors and possibilities might that unlock for you?
That's a great question.
Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
See you then.